They say the Garden of Eden was lost forever. But what if it wasn't? What if it still exists, hidden beneath the sands of forgotten lands, buried under centuries of flood, myth, and silence? Before you scroll, remember this: the story you think you know about Eden, it is not the one that was written in the beginning. Because what truly happened after Adam and Eve left the garden changed the entire course of human history, and no one ever told you so. Before we unlock what was buried beneath Eden's soil, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's step into the greatest secret of all time, one that's been erased, rewritten, and hidden right in front of us. When Adam and Eve were cast out of Eden, most people imagine a tragic moment to souls, walking away from paradise, ashamed, lost, and broken. But the Bible's original Hebrew words tell a far more complex story. The word used for expelled, garish, doesn't just mean thrown out. It also means driven away for protection. What if they weren't simply punished? What if they were relocated because something catastrophic was coming to Eden itself? Ancient Sumerian tablets, predating the Old Testament by centuries, it speak of a lush, sacred land where divine beings called the Anunnaki created mankind. This land was said to be eastward, watered by 4 rivers that spread across the world. The same description found in Genesis. Scholars have long noticed the overlap. Eden sounds less like a mythical paradise and more like an ancient geographical reality. The Tigris, Euphrates, Piscine, and Gihon rivers that historians link to modern Iraq, Iran, and possibly the lost lands beneath the Persian Gulf were all real places. So if Eden was once real, the question becomes, what happened to it? According to ancient texts, after Adam and Eve left, the ground itself was cursed. But the original phrasing doesn't say God cursed it directly. It says the ground became changed. Something in the environment shifted. Rivers dried, temperatures rose. Archaeologists today call it the Younger Dryas impact, a sudden climate catastrophe roughly 12,000 years ago, when the Earth's temperature plummeted, then spiked again violently. Massive floods swept through Mesopotamia. Could Eden have been destroyed, not by God's wrath, but by nature's fury? The Book of Jubilees, a forbidden ancient text excluded from the modern Bible, claims that angels were assigned to guard Eden's borders long after Adam's exile. They weren't there to keep humans out. They were there to keep something in. Some early Jewish mystics believed the tree of life still stood, glowing like molten gold, buried beneath the rivers of the east, and anyone who came too close would vanish now. That may sound mythical until you realize what archaeologists found in 2005 beneath southern Iraq. Satellite imaging revealed an enormous dried riverbed stretching from ancient Mesopotamia to the Persian Gulf, precisely matching the Piscine River described in Genesis. It surrounded an area that once held extraordinary vegetation, unlike any other desert around it. The soil was unusually rich in gold dust and resin, exactly as the Bible described Eden, but the region was buried under thousands of years of flood sediment. Something or someone wanted it sealed. Ancient Akkadian records describe how, after the fall of man, the gods abandoned their sacred garden, covering it with the waters of chaos. In modern terms, a deliberate flooding, the same great flood that appears in almost every ancient civilization, Sumerian, Babylonian, Hebrew, even Mayan, may have been the event that erased Eden from the surface of the earth. But here's where the mystery deepens. If Eden was destroyed, why do later scriptures describe people seeing it again? The prophet Ezekiel speaks of Eden, the garden of God, located among trading nations, filled with precious stones. That description doesn't fit a mythical heaven, it fits a physical land, wealthy and thriving. Could it be that after the flood, Eden re-emerged, not as a garden, but as an empire? Let's travel to ancient Sumer, the cradle of civilization. Here, temples dedicated to Enki, the god of water and wisdom, depict a garden paradise guarded by serpent-like beings, offering fruit of life to humans. The similarities to Genesis are undeniable, but Sumerian texts call these beings protectors of divine knowledge. What if the serpent in Eden wasn't purely evil but a symbol of enlightenment, a forbidden wisdom humanity wasn't ready to handle? When Adam and Eve took the fruit, they didn't just disobey, they awakened, and that awakening changed human destiny. After leaving Eden, the Book of Enoch says Adam and Eve settled east of the garden, in a land of harsh winds and burning sands. Yet they built altars, prayed daily, and were visited by celestial beings who walked among them like fire. Some scholars suggest these were remnants of the same divine entities who once inhabited Eden, teaching Adam's children agriculture, astronomy, and architecture. That sounds impossible until you see what came next. Just generations later, civilizations like Sumer in Egypt suddenly appeared out of nowhere with written language, mathematics, and complex religious systems. How could humanity evolve from primitive nomads to city builders almost overnight? Could they have inherited knowledge from those who once lived in the garden? Some researchers believe the Garden of Eden wasn't entirely destroyed, it was transformed. The idea of a paradise lost became encoded into every civilization's memory. Atlantis, Dilmun, Shambhala, the fields of reeds, all descriptions of a perfect land that vanished beneath the sea or sand. They may all trace back to one single place, the true Eden. But the deeper question is, what was so dangerous about Eden that it had to be hidden? The book of Genesis hints that God placed cherubim and a flaming sword to guard the way to the tree of life. The word way in Hebrew, derek, can also mean path, or even technology. Could the tree of life have been more than symbolic? Ancient Hebrew scholars wrote that its fruit granted knowledge of creation itself, the ability to manipulate life. If true, then whoever controlled Eden controlled the secret of life and death. Archaeological excavations near Eridu, one of the oldest cities on Earth, uncovered ziggurat foundations that predate known civilization. In the center stood a sealed chamber with carvings of a tree flanked by winged guardians almost identical to biblical cherubim. Local legend claimed anyone who broke the seal would face divine punishment, so they never opened it. Even today, Eridu lies abandoned, covered by desert winds, a silent monument to something the ancients refused to disturb. Could this be what remained of Eden's original temple? If so, then Eden wasn't destroyed. It was entombed, a place of divine technology, forbidden knowledge, and power beyond comprehension, varied to protect mankind from itself. But if that's true, where is it now? Some say it lies beneath the Persian Gulf, submerged after the last ice age. Others say the true garden was in Ethiopia, where the Gihon River once flowed, and where some of the world's oldest human remains have been found. And then there are those who believe Eden was never a physical place but a dimensional realm humanity was cut off from. The flaming sword could symbolize a barrier of energy, a frequency separating us from what we once knew. Quantum physicists now speak of parallel dimensions, realities vibrating beyond our perception. What if Eden was simply a higher state of existence? When humanity fell, we didn't fall down from heaven, we fell out of alignment with it. The fruit of knowledge didn't curse us, it awakened us to mortality. And the garden vanished, because we could no longer see it. In ancient mysticism, it's said the entrance to Eden is still on earth, hidden, invisible, guarded not by angels with swords, but by the blindness of human perception. Only those who reach complete spiritual purity can see the garden again. Every religion, in its own way, describes the return to that paradise, enlightenment, nirvana, salvation, the same idea under different names. But the legends warn of something else, that one day the barrier will lift. The book of Revelation speaks of Eden's restoration, a new heaven and a new earth where the tree of life returns. The apocalypse, in its truest meaning, doesn't mean destruction, it means unveiling. The reawakening of Eden. So maybe the garden never truly vanished. Maybe it's been waiting beneath the earth, beyond the veil, or deep within the human spirit, waiting for humanity to evolve enough to find it again. Because the real secret of Eden is not where it was, it's why we lost it. The garden was not just a place, it was a state of being, a harmony between the divine, nature, and mankind. And when humanity chose knowledge over obedience, we gained the world, but lost paradise. Yet every step of progress, every quest for truth, every act of creation is a silent echo of our longing to return. Maybe that's why we keep searching in deserts, in scriptures, in the stars. Because deep down we remember what perfection felt like. And maybe, just maybe, one day we'll find it again. If you've stayed with me till this moment, you're one of the rare few who seek truth beyond the surface. Hit that like button, subscribe to Ancient Light, and keep exploring the forgotten side of history with me, because the truth is always older than the story.